Hello, everyone, and welcome to Snap Take. This is Glazer of Snap Judgments, the official podcast of Marvel Snap Zone. We've got a giant episode for you today, so let's get started. We've got a Lamby deck, a 70% win rate deck. We're going to tier list every season pass card since global launch. Let's go. But first, please hit that sub button, hit that like, hit that comment. We are less than 200 subscribers away from 8,000. We're trying to get there as soon as possible. We will be giving away extra season passes next week. Please hit that sub button so you don't miss out. We'd greatly appreciate your support. We bring you at least 3 brand new decks every single weekday. We also bring you a ton of good stuff, such as a 2 to 3 hour podcast every week on the Marvel Snap Zone YouTube, bundle guides, pro tips, everything you need for your Marvel Snap journey. Hit that sub button, ring that bell. We also maintained a giveaway sheet, thanks to our friend Banshee, in the description to this video, where you can find every single active giveaway in Marvel Snap, so you can find some great content creators and win some free stuff in the process. Our outline for today, we're going to begin with questions of the day. Then we are going to look at a Desmond deck, and you can find Desmond's socials under number 6. GamingwithFlashX edited this deck, and we've got a few different options for you for how to play that deck. I don't know if you can hear it, but there's apparently a fire truck passing by outside. Sorry about that. We've also got a channel fact. We've got a brand new Lamby deck, the best home for both Skaar and Caiera, according to Lamby. We're going to then look at the season pass tier list. We're going to look at the deck you all voted for us to cover, which is a Mantis deck from, again, you guessed it, Desmond. And then we're going to look at a different version of that deck that's been updated with another high demand card morph. Then we've got shop, shoutouts, and we're done for the day. So our first question of the day is Wicked Sharpie 23 asks what draft mode is. This is Wicked Sharpie's first CCG. I'm going to give a quick explanation. So fundamentally, a draft mode is one where you get a certain number of limited cards. It's often called limited draft mode. You get a limited number of cards. You take one from them, and then generally speaking, you pass the rest to another player. They pick one, and then you do the same thing around a table in real life, around a digital virtual space otherwise, and you each end up with making a deck out of the cards you draft, the cards you pick out of those random packs. It completely changed the evaluation of cards because cards that could be great, like say a destroy package, might be harder to get the um, cards for it when they're more high in demand or like less likely to see synergies in a mode such as draft. It's really fun. There's a few Marvel Snap draft clients at some point relatively soon. I will grab them and put them in a segment in one of these videos. Gunny T asks, also thanks to Gunny T, he's doing a lot of work behind the scenes to help me with the channel, so big ups. He asked what my level up moment was in Marvel Snap and what my brain clicked for the game. So part of Marvel Snap's brilliance is it feeds you so many bots early that it makes you feel like that your brain has already clicked for the game. It makes you think you're good when you're not necessarily. So my level up moment, my first level up moment, the first one I really got was my second season. I'm having trouble hitting infinite, right? This is back when it was 10 cubes per level and there was only one bonus level. Very few bots. Infinite was an insane grind in the early seasons right after global launch. This is the Black Panther season. I'm playing a ramp deck, barely in Series 3, right? A ramp deck and a Sarah Miracle deck. Okay. As I'm playing, I start to realize that I'm not climbing as fast as I want to. I'm winning a lot. I can count my win rate, I can see my win rate, and it's high, but my levels are just stuck. So I realize that every time I lose 2 cubes instead of 1, I'm losing so much more equity than just running away at that 1. And then I do the math, and it's not complicated math, right? If I'm losing, if there's a snap and I'm losing 2 instead of 4, then again, that's double the value, right? Like that increase is completely insane in terms of how much more you lose or win when there's a snap. So I was staying in on these snaps, and just to see a lot, I was staying in on these snaps, and I wasn't making the progress I wanted. So I very quickly realized that I had to be retreating more when my opponent was snapping, which then led because I wasn't climbing when I wasn't retreating enough, right? And then I hit infinite, and the next season what I realized was this should work both ways. If I can snap on them more aggressively when I was doing well, they should also be retreating. And from there I started hitting infinite relatively. Ink asks, just off the top of your head, what would your next priority from Second Dinner. I'm assuming we mean something in game, and this feels like a good point to tell you the idea I had on the Snap Judgments podcast that I think would be the best new game mode, and I would make a priority. I don't know exactly how this works, but I would like a spectator mode. For that spectator mode, I think at one point in the game, players should be able to gamble, whatever new in game currency that is, maybe variants, maybe credits, whatever, gamble on the winner of the match. So at the start of the match, you watch the players and you just pick one, right? And then you can snap, raise, whatever. Um, when they snap or raise, you can raise your stakes in the game once per game. And I think that would be a really, really fun way to play Marvel Snap. I especially like it with the incoming clan system because it could be like a watch and gamble on your clan mode, right? And that gives like a benefit to being in a clan where like you want to, if you're in, I don't know, Lamby's clan, right? You would be watching Lamby play on ladder and you would actually have a like actual stake in the game, which I think would be really cool. All right. If you'd like your questions read in tomorrow's video, leave one in the comments. Priority answers are, as always, to our Patreons. Our Patreons are great. You can find our Patreon at patreon.com/snapjudgments. There's something new on that Patreon every single day, along with exclusive content on the higher tiers. Our first deck is Black Knight's Desmond. This is our friend GamingwithFlashX's version. Check out GamingwithFlashX on either Twitch or YouTube. Phenomenal player, really good person. I genuinely like and respect the crap out of him. I cannot recommend you check him out enough. If you need his name, just say the word in the comments and I will find him for you. So he took the Desmond Black Knight version. Everyone's playing the Zun's version right now that's running Sarah, and that Sarah version is basically trying to get 2/4s out on the last turn. This can play that pattern by going Zabu early and then trying and using Leech. And Leech does a great job at taking out a lot of the opponent's stuff in the meta, especially against the current Thanos decks where they're trying to drop like double dinosaurs and blobs on you at the end of the game. Leech does an amazing job at taking care of that for you. If you can do something like get a shard out and then on 4 and then Leech on 5 and then just you can drop like a Dracula on 6 with something simple like armor. You can Ghost Rider back whatever, you shard it away, and just you end up winning the game with relative ease. It's a very, very powerful deck. You can also go something along the lines of shard into Ghost Rider into shard 4/5, and then you have a 2-cost Skaar to end the game to play along with Dracula. It's a very, very strong deck that I strongly urge you to try out. Leech is brilliant in this deck. Cool. All right. There's versions of this that run both Caiera and Red Skull in that armor slot. I'm going to tell you right now, I like Red Skull the best of the 3 options. I know I hate Red Skull, but what Red Skull lets you do is it lets you go Shard on 4 into Red Skull on 5, and that 2-cost Skaar has a lot of value. Because 2-cost Skaar plus Dracula, 2-cost Skaar plus Ghost Rider is an extremely strong way to end the game. So that's my favorite version of it, but that armor slot is your swing spot. Please feel free to mess with it. Everything else is sort of locked in here. Leech is the key to this version of the deck. Again, there's versions that run Sarah. I like the Leech version better. Skaar is great, but not a requirement. See above. You can always replace Skaar with Red Skull or just keep Armor and Caiera. And this deck needs Black Knight, obviously. Black Knight is the only high series card outside of Skaar here, and it's a requirement of a card. Turn by turn. This one's 70% in 100 games from our friend Gaming with Flash. Turn 1, you play Black Knight. Turn 2 is Zabu over Armor. Turn 3, Zabu is usually better than Sif, which is more or less equal to Blade, depending on what you're discarding, which is better than Dracula, which is better than Armor. Turn 4 is whichever 4-drop you can. Turn 5 is Leech, or again, if you have Red Skull, if you have a big power card to make yourself a cheap Skaar, feel free. You can also, if you played that shard, just drop Skaar here perfectly fine. Turn 6 is 2 4s if you can, and if not, go as big as you can. And then win, because this is just a ton of power. Take one last look at the variants quickly. I've got my Spotlight Black Knight, my Jacinto Ghost Rider. No Skaar variant as of yet, but I'd really appreciate if they put some more Skaars in the game. We've got the best armor in the game. Blade, Zabu, Dracula, Infinite, Giganto, Magneto, Leech. 7 hips. You love to see it. Let's keep going. All right. So in the description to this video and the video every day, there is now a channel fact. I'm going to try and remind you that this exists every so often. So in that fact, you can find everywhere you can find us. We've done a ton of pro tips. We've got lists from everything from beginners to like the top of the metagame players. So there's a link to all the snap tips in that new channel pack. We've also got ways to collect cards, the ways to most efficiently collect and gather all the cards in Marvel Snap, card acquisition advice. We've also got answers to frequently asked questions. So, two questions that people constantly ask about the channel is, hey, can we watch you play games? And here's why. Why we don't do chapters, what I teach, I'm a teacher, my take on why we do or do not talk about social issues, and then the giveaway sheet that is mentioned here. If you'd like anything else to be added, please let me know in the comments to this video. The second deck is our Lamby Lockjaw. Lamby says this is the best version of Skaar and Caiera in the game, at least that he's found thus far. Not hard to see why. This is a Lockjaw deck through and through. It largely wants to win. Sorry, it largely wants to win on the back of that Lockjaw. So as long as it sees that Lockjaw, it's going to do really well. You're going to get to watch me drink a little bit of water. Sorry about that. Okay, so what this is ultimately doing is trying to cheat things out with Lockjaw. If it gets carried out, all that stuff it gets cheated out is fake. Is protected, and then it just goes above everything else because it's got a billion huge power cards. If you get lucky and get a couple big things out of Lockjaw, say turn 3 and 4, 4 and 5, you can get a really cheap Skaar. Maybe you can even get Skaar and Blob and then win the damn game that way. It's a very, very effective strategy. So this is built for Caiera and Skaar. There are no other high series cards in here. I would cut probably Caiera before Skaar here. Shang is in the meta, but not as dangerous as he was because he's getting cut a lot because Caiera's in all these decks. So again, Lamby, the best player in Marvel Snap, the person who won Conquerors, the person who finished first in the second full season of Snap, and has just a bajillion accolades to his name at this point, says this is the best home for both, so I'm inclined to at least test the crap out of it based on that. Turn 1 and 2 pass, you have no plays except Wasp. Do not play Wasp. Turn 3, you snap on Thor if you have Jane or Lockjaw. You play Lockjaw Wasp over everything else. If you don't have that, you play Thor. If you have a Jane, then Lockjaw without Wasp or Thor is better than Thor, is better than just dropping Caiera. Turn 4, Thor with Jane is better than Lockjaw. It's better than Jubilee, is equal to Dracula, depending on your hand. So Jubilee or Dracula depends on your hand. Is all your big stuff in your deck? Suddenly, Jubilee is better. Is all your big stuff is like, if all your big stuff is elsewhere, then Dracula's better. In your hand already, Dracula's better. Then Caiera, which is, can go way up pending your hand. If you know that, like, you're going to drop Mjolnir, you don't have Lockjaw yet, so you know you're going to drop Mjolnir on 5, and you've already cheated out, like, something big. You got a Jubilee early through whatever means, or whatever nonsense. You get Caiera goes way up in value. Turn 5, Jane, if Thor Jaw is better than Jubilee, is equal to Dracula, is better than Caiera. And turn 6 is something big and something cheap into Lockjaw. The end. Quick variant look, we've got a shorter hip deck here. Wasp, Lockjaw, Dracula, Jubilee, Blob, Magneto, Giganto. And I guess I could have had Infinite. I don't know why I put that one in there. So it should be 8. Never mind this being a low hip. We've got Froggy Thor. Please release more Caiera variants. This is my favorite Jane in the game. I love it. It's the one I bought. And yeah, I'm really annoyed that they're not releasing many variants for these new cards. I wish they would fix that. Okay. Let's look at a tier list of the Season Pass cards. So upon release of Season Pass cards, Nimrod was a 5/5. That was largely because Galaxus made Nimrod a really dangerous card to release. However, Nimrod as a 5/5 only ever had that home and it never really took off. So Nimrod was not very good. Ghost Spider was a 2/3, which it turns out was just too expensive for a move card. Better Iron Fist doesn't really warrant a whole 100% increase in cost, so meh. And Phoenix Force, the original Phoenix Force, where it was a 5/6, not a 2/3. The 5/6 Phoenix Force was too expensive and only gave you 1 turn to move, which ended up leaving it a absolutely terrible card. The C tier cards. Ghost Spider is a 1/2 is a C tier card. It's a good card. It's a fine card. C tier cards are playable, but they're hyper specific in deck, have hyper specific requirements, and don't necessarily like carry that deck. They're like even replaceable there. So that's Ghost Spider. That also fits Miles Morales, who was the very first season pass card of Global Launch. Miles Morales had a home for a little while in one meta deck, basically. I guess two meta decks ever. It was okay in Silky Smooth style decks, and it was very good in the original Darkhawk Stature decks. Everywhere else, Miles has just sort of existed. Um, it's a card that's there. And Black Panther is good, but takes an awful lot of work to make actually work. And even then, like, he doesn't win every time you do the thing, right? So Black Panther sure does exist. These are the like lower tier cards. Please note that they're relatively old. The B tier cards, these are cards that are good. They either make decks work or they make the decks they're in significantly better. So Phoenix Force, I think, is the first B tier card, and I struggled with Phoenix between B and C. There's two cards I struggled with between B and C here. Phoenix is the first. Um, Phoenix Force is one of my favorite cards in Marvel Snap, so I could be biased. But right now, it has that home with um, potentially like that Nimrod deck. The Shuri Nimrod deck has the home that like Deadpool deck that does more movie stuff, and maybe Hercules makes it a bit better. It works properly with multiple men now in that both copies can move. So Phoenix Force is a good card, if not an absolutely great one. Modok makes discard work. Discard doesn't work without Modok. When discard is better, he's an A tier card, but discard right now is kind of bad. Still, very happy they printed this card. It's basically an archetype maker. Nimrod as a 5/6 has a home. It's not again great. We've seen it over the past week be played more because if you can go Magic Shuri Nimrod, and then you can kill Nimrod on turn 6, you get a free Skaar at the end of the game just as a nice extra bonus. That's pretty cool. So Nimrod is a solid card for that exact reason. It's otherwise not like a necessity, but it's good. Dokken is good in both discard and Dokken abuse decks. So like in discard where it's just a 3/8 because you're discarding your hand anyway, 3/8 is great value. And then as anyone who's played Gladiator knows, obviously. And then there's the decks that like Zola it or Wong it, and those are pretty good too. So Dokken Dessert belongs here. Excuse me. The 2/3 version of Elsa Bloodstone is, I think, probably a C tier card, but we haven't explored it properly, and I'm not willing to put it down that far. A repeatable +2, like she should always be a 2/7, and if I told you could have a 2/7, that's just great stats, right? So my working theory is Elsa is better than we've given credit. Excuse me. I'm having trouble today. My working theory is that this version of Elsa is better than we've been given credit for because we had so many broken versions before. Two broken versions before, in fairness. Finally, we have our most recent season pass card, Sebastian Shaw. Shaw is very, very good in Surfer and doesn't exist elsewhere. So that kind of narrowness keeps it in the B tier for me. A tier cards. I think both versions of Hitmonkey are A tier. I don't think Hitmonkey ever crossed over into S tier. Outside of that bounce deck that like it was so meta in, but that was one hyper specific deck. Hitmonkey is a hyper specific cards. It needs other cards to make it broken. When it has those other cards, it looks like one of the best cards in the game, and when it doesn't, it looks unplayable. So that's why I think Hitmonkey is A tier. Nebula is a meta staple. It goes in an absolute ton of decks, but anything that wants any kind of lockdown, whether it be Storm or Professor X loves Nebula. It also gives you a type of invisible control over where and how your opponents play their cards. It can often win a lane if you play it alone. It just got better with Caiera. I'm a big Nebula fan. Let's save Skaar. So the 3/2 version of Surfer basically has a deck unto himself. That deck is always in and out of the meta. It is sometimes S tier. It's usually just below that because Surfer is a better deck than cards like Phoenix Force, Nimrod, and Modok right now, then I think he deserves to be A tier, though I can see an argument for him being B. We've got Elsa Bloodstone when she gave +2 for that like 3 weeks to be an A tier card. Again, that would probably be higher, but it was so under tested in that short time that it's hard to make that claim. Finally, we have Skaar. Skaar is the worst he's ever going to be right now when everyone expects him. As the game goes on, as things change, people will expect less and less Skaar. And as people expect less Skaar, they will play less of cards like Mobius, and Skaar will get better and better. Even as is, he's in numerous very, very good decks right now. I think Skaar, it's hard to argue that Skaar is significantly worse than like Surfer. I think that basically a 4/11 is a top tier card, and a 2/11 is a broken card. So I think Skaar is absolutely excellent. Finally, we have the S tier cards. Either way, Loki has been an S tier card. We'll talk about his nerf once we see how that plays. He'll be a 4/6. But Loki at 3/5 is probably the best card they've ever released. Loki at 4/5 is one of the top 5 cards they've ever released. These are S tier cards. Zabu at 3/2 with the -2 is the second best card they've ever released in Marvel Snap, while Zabu at a 2/2 is completely freaking great. Multiple meta decks. We already saw him in a deck today. There's little reason not to own Zabu if you can. The meta will always, always, always find ways to use him. Next up, we have Elsa. When she gave +3, the 2/2 Elsa +3 was probably the third best card they ever printed in Marvel Snap, unsurprisingly. So that Elsa Bloodstone was unbelievable, and she's fallen incredibly far, incredibly quickly. But that stat line, every deck was fundamentally an Elsa deck when she was out there, in much the same way it right now feels like every deck is a Ms. Marvel deck, because 415 is great. Elsa was often, by the way, like 212 to 215, so it's not like at half the price she was giving you the same value as Ms. Marvel, so that's why she's like better. But Ms. Marvel is still an absolute meta staple. Doom is a 615, having a 415 that you can then play other cards with is through the roof powerful. It's one of the most powerful tools for priority ever created in Marvel Snap. Unbelievable card. Finally, I don't know this for sure, obviously, but next month's season pass card is Dynamite is a 2/3 on reveal. Your 1-cost cards cost 0 next turn. Every time something costs 0 in Marvel Snap, it breaks. 1-cost cards costing 0 already have synergies with Hitmonkey and Werewolf by Night. I think that Black Swan's going to be a completely busted, phenomenal card, and will end up S tier. Oh, that is the tier list for season pass cards. Oh, ignore that. Our Mantis deck is this Desmond one. Desmond was winning 75% of his games with this deck. This was for the more ongoing meta, so it's fallen back a little bit, but it is still quite good. It is fundamentally, and you can only play it for a couple days, I'm very aware. It is fundamentally saying, I'm going to take your Ms. Marvel, I'm going to take your Ms. Marvel or Devil Dinosaur or whatever else, and I get that power, your Darkhawk's power. I can blow up your best stuff with cards like Shang-Chi. I can obviously Loki, and if not, then I have your cards through Cable and Mantis, and I have Coulson for the best other cards. It's an extraordinarily, extraordinarily powerful combo of stuff that you can do. Mantis and Cable, by the way, are quite good against opposing blobs. They remove cards from the deck. I also very much like Quinjet with this combo because this is a deck built around Collector and getting Collector big. Collector's probably good with this even after he stops working with Loki because Maria Hill, Snowguard, Mantis, Coulson, and Cable are probably enough to make this a pretty damn good card. This deck needs Loki, Agent 13 could be Negro Snowguard, and you can try Sentinel, Mirage, or Echo as well. Cool. So 24 and 8, 75%. We're going to look at the updated version for this season's meta next. That's the Morph deck. So turn 1, Maria is better than Quinjet, is better than Snowguard, usually anyway. Turn 2, Collector until Tuesday, is better than Ones, is better than Mantis. Turn 3, Collector over Coulson over Cable. Cosmo is usually a late game play for when you don't Loki. Turn 4, Loki or Coulson cards or Super Scroll. If they have a Zabu, Super Scroll ups in priority. If they are playing a clear ongoing deck, obviously Super Scroll is way better. Turn 5 is the same as 4, and turn 6 is their cards, or Shang and a way to grow Collector, or a Coulson card and Cosmo. Cool. This deck works fantastically. I actually tested this one out, and I think it's great. I really, really enjoy Desmond decks. I think Desmond is wildly underrated as a deck builder. Speaking of which, quick variant look at this deck. We've got only 3 hips here. We got the Collector, Mantis, and Cosmo hips. We've got Noir for Maria Hill and Coulson. Young Cable, because I don't have the hip yet. Cool steampunky Quinjet, which is Propellers Go. Baby Shang, because we got Baby Super Scroll, best Super Scroll, so we threw the Shang in. Loki crossing the bridge, and Snowguard with her wings. This is the version that is now ranked 18. Desmond keeps playing this. He was 7-1 with it when he posted stats. It's up into the top 30. Fundamentally, everyone's running big stuff, so Morph is the replacement for Mantis now, because so many people are just running big stuff. and instead of Super Scroll, just Enchantress and take away their nonsense. That's basically the gist of this. I have no idea why this isn't running Zabu. This feels like the easiest Zabu ever over Cosmo. But hey, I'm not rank 18 in the world, so this is the updated version, and I threw some different variants in so that it's hopefully a little more visually interesting. But hey, this is the number 18 ranked deck in Marvel Snap right now. You should probably try it. All right, time to look at my shop. This is my shop from Friday into Saturday. I bought this Green Goblin because I only had Red Goblin, and call me old fashioned, I want my Green Goblin to be green. I think this is the best Green Goblin in the game. It's only 700 gold, so it's mine. There's nothing else I really wanted. I have both Spotlight X23s, both where she's Wolverine, the Rion, and the other one where she's jumping out the window. I have the hip for Psylocke. I have several good Cerebros we've talked about. I have the hip for Tribunal. I have the 3099 Sabretooth and the one that's like the cover of the comic that's very realistic. I have like 5 Gooses, and we just saw the Super Scroll I have. However, in the process, I bought the Iceman from the web shop. Please don't forget to check marvelsnap.com. There's an amazing value exclusive bundle there for this Iceman. $15 for 2,000 gold. Great deal. I got Chibi Debris and Baby Cyclops, so whatever. I have a hip for Debris and I have several good Cyclopses, but this is a pretty good baby one, and it's the X Factor costume, so I'm not like sad. And then I got this Sentinel, which will replace the Season Pass Sentinel because I believe this is the Days of Future Past cover, and it's fantastic. All right. Finally, we have today's shop. I have like 4 good Taskmasters, Hip Zola, Hip Magneto, along with White Suit Magneto and Jim Lee Magneto. I've got Peach Momoko and Ms. Marvel for Mystique, although that's my closest buy for the day. I got the Spider Black Cat, and I also have Noir, so I'm set there. I have both Hip and Jacinto Carnages, Hip and Spotlight Nulls, and I have both Christmas and oh no, I don't remember who made the other one, Merge Centuries. So I'm totally fine on these variants. Mystique was a close buy, but I don't need another Mystique for anything. I did manage to open 2 variants through just pure luck today. I got this Galactus, which is pretty cool. I have both the hip and the I have both the hip Galactus, and I have the boom, 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 Lifebringer Galactus. So I don't really especially need this one, but hey, it's here, it exists. I also have the like this. It sort of looks like this Electro, but it's a green suit that I like a little more. This is Ultimate Electro. I don't like Ultimate Electro nearly as much as I like main Electro. So it is what it is. Not sad to have 2 new variants, but they're not variants that are really going to see play for me. Also, there's something I've never really liked about Galactus having a bunch of abs. Like, is he doing crunches? I don't get it. All right. We need to thank our Patreons on our way out, so thank you to Models, Pretty Chill, Fothar Newman, who you can check out on YouTube, Ink, No Flex, Mandatory Burnout, Matt Conduit, Good Dog Gamer, Kirtix Lee, Mikey Hijinks, DG Winfield, Rob Silverman, Matt H., Robert Rivern, Abigail Giesland, Direwolf, Ocularis, Spike Jones, Louis Antunes, JD McDonaldinho, another wonderful Twitch streamer, and Min, who you can check out as Rito in disguise over on Twitch. Thank you so much for your support, friends. Again, if you'd like to be a Patreon, check out patreon.com/snapjudgments. I think today's decks are really, really great. The Leech one is bluntly my favorite, but hey, you can play Mantis and Morph in meta decks, and you're never sad to see a Lamby deck. Hit that sub button, ring that bell, comment, like. Tomorrow, we're going to take a look at the deck I hit Infinite with it easy, breezy, 70% win rate. Thanks for watching. See you tomorrow for another Snap Take. Peace.